first tonight, the ABC has made a bombshell admission that it published fake footage with extra gunshots added in a report wrongly accusing a hero commander of being a war criminal. This revelation has rocked the ABC after its beleaguered investigations unit made the devastating admission that it used fabricated audio as part of its defamatory pursuit of Heston Russell. As you know, Russell is a decorated former Special Forces commander who fought against Taliban terrorists in Afghanistan. Well, the ABC's Mark Willacy published damning allegations against Russell and his platoon, wrongly claiming they killed unarmed civilians.
We don't have the vision that comes immediately before this, but this Australian soldier is firing towards what appear to be unarmed civilians in residential compounds.
And they're saying that you're shooting at unarmed civilians.
And this guy had literally just been on the back of a motorbike with his mate shooting at two of my teams that were on the ground.
But we don't see any of that.
No, nor do they, but they're still happy to jump to a conclusion from 15 seconds worth of footage.
And that was Heston Russell on Channel 7 speaking about the original ABC broadcast from 2 years ago. Russell gave the ABC the raw footage to show the whole context, but the ABC wouldn't fix its report, and Russell took the public broadcaster to court. He won and was awarded almost $400K in damages.
Two things. First and foremost, it's not me. Secondly, here's the full context. They were not unarmed civilians.
Incredibly, the ABC refused to acknowledge it. So in September of 2022, Russell commenced defamation proceedings in the federal court to defend himself against their accusations of war crimes.
The reporter, Mark Willacy, is saying, we don't know what happened before this, but he does. He's known about it since April last year.
Yep.
For a year he's known.
Yep.
So what's online, what's up on the net is a lie.
Absolutely.
And now Heston Russell has made the quite extraordinary discovery that the ABC had edited its footage, adding in extra gunshots and taking a 15-second clip entirely out of context. Here was that amazing revelation on Channel 7 last night.
In the actual helmet cam vision, it's a warning shot. Then Heston's command to shoot. Followed by 6 shots.
And then 7 went on to explain how the single warning shot became 6. Have a look.
They've literally added extra gunshots.
That's phenomenal. So
I fell off my chair when I saw this.
A forensic audio expert analysed the footage and had this to say last night.
They've taken the audio from the 6 shots and they've applied it to this video in the news clip, and they've copied and pasted across this scene. It completely misrepresents what those soldiers were going through that day.
it also makes you wonder what else has been fabricated, doesn't it?
Correct.
Well, when presented with the evidence, the ABC admitted the concoction. They said, we have removed the online video where an error has been identified based on preliminary inspection of the audio. The ABC is seeking more information on how this occurred. Joe Puccini, Mark Willacy and Josh Robertson had no role in the production and editing of the online video you've brought to our attention. Any suggestion that they have acted inappropriately or unethically is completely false. So these are the three, you can see them on the screen, who claim they had nothing to do with adding those extra gunshots, but they were responsible for the defamatory crusade against Russell. Already the court has heard that they relied on the hazy memory of an American soldier who said to Mark Willacy that he couldn't recall any specific details from a decade ago and that his account shouldn't be relied on. Yet that is what the ABC based their story on, insisting they had a confidential source. And here was Mark Willacy boasting about repeatedly going back to his source when he was on stage at the Walkley Awards.
I spent 2 months checking out, going back to this guy, getting more detail. And there's this idea that we make up and we don't.
That's Joe Hildebrand laughing out loud. He can't help himself, and we'll get his opinion on that in just a minute. But as you saw, Mark Willacy never mentioned there that his source told him not to rely on his memory at all. Now, this is a journalist, Mark Willacy, who has called News Corp tabloids Murdoch bottom feeders. Well, I'll tell you this. News Corp would never add extra gunshots into a video to falsely accuse a decorated soldier of war crimes. This unthinkable conduct happened at the ABC, and it keeps claiming it's the most trusted media organisation in the country. Well, Heston and his legal team, Barrister Sue Chrysanthu and Rebecca Giles, eventually discovered the source's identity, and emails from that soldier showed he warned the ABC not to rely on his memory. He said it was hazy. What's worse, it's now eventuated that Heston wasn't even in Afghanistan at the time that the ABC claimed the war crime happened.
When the ABC published their article saying this happened between June and July, and I produced my deployment record that showed we weren't even in Afghanistan during that time period.
Well, another American soldier who did work with Heston Russell had this to say about him.
Most of our one-on-one interaction was with Heston, and then usually we'd get up with the platoon in the aircraft. Most of the communication was with Heston.
But you rank him highly?
I held him in the highest regard out of everybody I worked with. I thought he was the most professional commander that I had the pleasure of working with downrange. I spent a year in Afghanistan during that deployment, and at no point during that time did we ever think that any of the engagements were illegal or unethical or
outside the rules of engagement.
Absolutely. So,
did anybody try to call you? Any journalists from Australia? Did they try to get in touch?
No one ever tried to call me or contact me about it. No, sir.
You just think, how far removed is that account from how the ABC chose to portray Heston Russell? They portrayed him as a murderer who they claimed killed innocent civilians. And the public broadcaster has refused to apologise, showing extreme arrogance even after being found in a court of law to have wrongly pursued an innocent veteran. And here is the ABC's former managing director showing no remorse for destroying Russell's life after publishing utter lies about him.
What do you say to war veteran Heston Russell, who the ABC wrongfully accused of committing a war crime?
At the moment, I would say that, and the court agrees, that those stories were in the public interest. The ABC held a genuine belief that they were in the public interest. The court agrees of both of those
I'm not interested in your belief. I'm interested in the facts. You have been found to have improperly and wrongly accused Mr Heston Russell of being a war criminal. What do you say firstly to Mr Heston Russell?
Senator, if you're asking for me to apologise to Mr Russell, I'm not going to apologise to Mr Russell.
It's unbelievable. Well, the ABC's erroneous reporting brought Heston Russell almost to the edge. And the ABC even went after his sexuality, shaming him. And he thought about taking his own life. Well, Rebecca Giles, his lawyer, said that she felt the ABC was trying to push Russell over the edge.
I think the personal attacks were so hurtful to him that potentially there was a hope that he wouldn't survive them.
This is disgraceful. The ABC recklessly destroyed the reputation of a fine-serving commander who had repeatedly put his own life on the line fighting for our country. The ABC tried to prove that he was a war criminal, and even in the face of growing evidence that he was innocent and highly respected, refused to acknowledge the truth. Well, there needs to be accountability here. Yet we've seen ABC executives behave as arrogantly and despicably as their own reporters. The ABC does need to explain why this team still has jobs. If it doesn't get more serious than this, then doctoring a video in a report wrongly accusing a decorated soldier of war crimes. Well, the accusations against our soldiers, against Heston Russell, came very quickly on the ABC. Yet the apologies for getting it wrong have not been forthcoming. And this is shameful.